Air France has long been a mainstay of European aviation, and is currently the largest member of the Air France KLM Group, one of Europe's big three alongside IAG and the Lufthansa Group. Shortly before I started making these reviews, I flew with Air France's partner, KLM, and I have to say, I was pretty disappointed. I have high hopes for Air France though. I've heard good things about them, and I'd like to think the food aboard the flag carrier of France would be good. This will actually be my first international long-haul review on this channel, which I'm really excited for, so I hope you will join me aboard an Air France 777-300 on the long hop from Los Angeles to Paris Charles de Gaulle. Welcome to Los Angeles for the 6th time on this channel. I just parked here at Park LAX, my usual spot for two reasons. It's very close to the runway, so it's got great spotting opportunities. And if I'm on the correct side of the plane while landing, I can spot my car. I know it's stupid, but I enjoy it. Despite being one of the busiest airports in the world, your only choices for getting here are driving and using one of the many parking options, finding someone who is willing to drive you through the traffic nightmare that is the Horseshoe, or using the very limited and unreliable bus services. Since filming, the airport finally opened up a metro station, which is supposed to be connected to the terminals by a people mover that will also stop here, but that's delayed till June 2026. Until then, you can at least take a free shuttle bus. Speaking of free shuttle buses, it's just a 10-minute ride from here to the terminal. So, as mentioned, Air France and KLM are part of the Air France KLM Group, a holding company formed by their privatization and merger in 2004. My previous KLM flight was pretty bad. The seats were made of cardboard and left me with a sore back, the food left a lot to be desired, and worst of all, along with the lack of air vents, the cabin temperature was really warm, leaving me super uncomfortable and unable to sleep the entire flight. Air France and KLM, however, largely operate as separate airlines, with different aircraft, hubs, route networks, and operations, so I truly hope today's flight will be different. We'll be using the Tom Bradley International Terminal today, where the majority of international flights depart, with the exception of US airlines who sometimes get to use their normal terminals. I don't have any bags, so I'm able to skip checking in today and head straight to security. Despite being a major international terminal at a major international airport, security only took a few minutes. I actually kinda like this terminal. It's very open and clean, with lots of places to eat or shop, although I'll be skipping all that since I arrived here early for some plane spotting. I even spent some time to grab a time-lapse of this ANA Dreamliner, which will be uploaded on this channel soon. And with the time-lapse done, it's time to head to our gate. We'll be using gate 208, which is actually in the separate West Gates concourse. To get there, we'll need to walk through a tunnel that runs under the taxiway. Despite having a couple moving walkways that cover about half the distance, it's still a pretty long walk. It took me about 5 minutes, and that's with me being a relatively fast walker once I put the camera down. So make sure you leave plenty of time to get to your flight if it departs from the West Gates. The concourse itself is pretty empty today, quite a change from how busy the airport has been so far. Well, except for the alligator room, which seems very busy today. Okay, seriously though, if anyone knows what the hell this is supposed to be, please let me know in the comments. And here's our aircraft for today. This is Foxtrot Golf Sierra Quebec India, a 21-year-old Boeing 777-300ER that has been flying for Air France its entire life. Air France names all their aircraft after French cities, so ours is named Rambouillet, a small but historic town not far from Paris that has been occasionally used as the seat of the French government. This aircraft is one of 43 777-300s operated by Air France, serving as the backbone of their long-haul network. Air France was actually the launch customer for the 777-300ER and remains the third largest operator today. It is also unique for Air France in being the only type with their first-class suites, La Première, which are starting at $19,000 on this route at time of writing. These aircraft only have 4 of these absolutely over-the-top suites, but beyond that, they are still very premium heavy, with a massive business section that pushes the start of economy more than halfway down the aircraft. Not all Air France 777s are like this though. While 22 of them have La Premiere, 8 go for a more balanced layout without it, and the remaining 12 have one of the most economy-heavy 777-300 layouts flying today with an insane 430 economy seats. Despite all this, the 777 isn't actually the airline's flagship. That would be their rapidly expanding fleet of A350s, which will soon surpass the 777-300 fleet. The A350 doesn't actually have La Premiere though, despite occasional claims that it will be introduced to the type for years. Since peasants like myself aren't worthy of getting a look at the 4 La Premiere seats in the front of the aircraft, we board through door 2, in the middle of the massive business section. It contains a whopping 58 Safran Cirrus business suites in a 1-to-1 layout. Overhead bin space is great with these massive pivot bins in the center. Behind business, you will find a very modest premium economy cabin, especially given how big business is, with just 28 seats in a 2-4-2 layout. From what I have read, these very bulky Collins Aerospace Icon seats are pretty unpopular with those that can actually afford them. And more than halfway down the aircraft, we finally reach the economy cabin, containing 206 Safran Z300 seats in this rather dense 343 layout. And our seat for today will be 34L. It's worth noting, Air France is currently refitting their 777-300 fleet with new Recaro PL3530s for premium economy and Recaro CL3710s for economy. Out of the 22 premium heavy 777s like this, 6 have been refitted so far, so your experience may differ. Anyway, once seated, we are immediately met with a rather large pillow for economy, a blanket, and headphones. Behind you, the headrest allows you to adjust the sides and change the height. Overhead, you will unfortunately only find a reading light, something we will get into later. And in front of you, the main feature of the seat, an 11.7-inch seatback screen. Sadly though, it doesn't adjust, and since the seat has some pretty good recline, that's a minor letdown. Above it, there's a poorly placed coat hook, and beneath, a headphone jack and USB-A socket. Below that, you'll find a large single-piece tray table, and on the back of that, you can pop out a little cup holder. Further down, your seat back pocket, which has 2 smaller pockets on the front, one of which contains the safety card, and behind that, the main pocket with fully enclosed sides. The legroom is just enough for me at 31 inches of pitch. And finally, in between seats you will find a universal power socket, meaning there are 2 for every 3 seats. Just as we are getting ready to push back, the crew ran into a slight problem.
Some electricity shut down, and it should be a few minutes to get it to normal situation. Thank you.
Thankfully, as the flight attendant said, after just a few minutes, the lights are back on. This is when I realized just how bad the lighting is. While my camera may be exaggerating it a bit, it's very yellow. I don't understand this. To me at least, it just makes the cabin feel warmer, stuffier, and just older than it actually is.
Members of the cabin crew speak Spanish, German, Italian, Japanese, and Vietnamese. Who will shortly be departing?
I don't hear crews list out the languages they speak very often, and when I do it's normally just 2 or 3, but 7? That's just on another level.
Nous sommes ravis de vous accueillir à bord de ce vol Air France à destination de Roissy. First of all, I would like to apologize for this slight delay due to technical check to perform. So everything is under control now, and we are ready to leave the gate within 2 minutes. We expect flight time of 9 hours and 45 minutes, nice riding condition, and we'll be on time in Paris.
finally time to get going. While the electronics on the rest of the aircraft are working, and the screens worked during the safety video, for some reason they all blue screened for the taxi. I did notice the cool taxi view at the front of the cabin though. Sadly, we can't see much with how dark it is, which is my bad. Air France has 3 flights a day on this route, a 3:25 and 6:20 p.m. with their 777, and a 9:05 p.m. with the A350. Since I was still rather new to this whole reviewing thing when this was filmed, I just picked the 6:20 since it gave me plenty of time to plane spot. I didn't even think about the sunset time this late into the year, which is 5 p.m. Normally I'd play the takeoff footage for a minute, but since there isn't all that much to see, we'll be skipping to the air. Sorry about that. I'll do my best to avoid nighttime filming in the future. By the way, if you want more high-quality flight reviews like this, make sure to like and subscribe for more. Anyway, now that we're in the air, let's start looking at what this flight has to offer. First, I just wanted to take a quick look at this tiny safety card. I mean, look at this thing. It's adorable, even better given how big of an aircraft this is. Well, besides the few minutes of entertainment I got out of that, let's check out the actual IFE. Despite having paid hundreds of dollars for this flight, Air France still feels the need to make you watch a Renault ad when you start up the screen. This type of stuff always bothers me way more than it should. After the ad ended, I instantly noticed the flight progress bar at the top of the screen. It showed the meal service will be getting soon, and some kind of snack mid-flight. I was awake for this part of the flight, and no snacks were handed out. Maybe it was the snack bar in the back of the plane opening? If it's supposed to be the pre-arrival snack, the placement is a little off. Well, below that you will find the movie section. There are plenty of choices available, both in French and English, so I had no problem finding things to watch throughout the flight. The screen is also proving nice and responsive so far. If movies aren't your thing, you will also find a selection of TV shows, although there was a much higher ratio of French content here, as well as music, games, and a wellness section. There is also a pretty helpful information section containing a Wi-Fi guide, along with some gate info and airport maps. The in-flight map is the very standard but also very functional FlightPath 3D, which comes with plenty of different viewing options. We can also access the aircraft's exterior cameras from here, although I really don't know what I was expecting to see at this time of night. Finally, you can find a menu for the meal service. Even though it's not super descriptive, the choice between Basque-style chicken or penne all'arrabbiata is a little bit more helpful than the standard chicken or pasta, which I appreciate. Speaking of, about an hour into the flight, the meal service arrived. Alongside the sparkling water I asked for, the meal itself came with some extra water in this little cup. For a side, you will find a piece of white cheddar and a cold bread roll. For dessert, a chocolate marble cake. For a side salad, a small portion of wheat berry salad. And finally for the main course, I went for the Basque-style chicken. I hate to say it, but this whole meal service is a little disappointing. The actual Basque chicken part of the meal was a pretty small portion, with more rice than anything, and it was pretty tasteless overall. The salad was also rather hard to get through. The bread roll was cold and stiff, and the cake was alright, but for a chocolate marble cake, I was expecting I'd at least taste the chocolate. The cheese was good, but I love white cheddar, so it's hard to mess that up for me. I was really expecting Air France to do better than this, but to cut them some slack, we are not departing their Paris hub, where the food may be better. Not long after the food was collected, lights were dimmed. I decided to check out the Wi-Fi on board before catching some sleep. Surprisingly, Air France doesn't actually offer stream-to-device entertainment, which is pretty rare to see today. The only option is Wi-Fi for purchase. You can get messaging for free, 1 hour of low-speed Wi-Fi for €8, or 18 for the full flight, and finally you can purchase stream-capable Wi-Fi for the full flight for €30. I decided to put that one to the test for you. I actually pre-purchased that option on the ground, a feature I appreciate because trying to input credit card info on a plane is a little unpleasant. The speeds aren't super impressive, but it is capable of doing what it claims: streaming. Although YouTube seems not to want to go above 360p automatically. Still, it did work throughout the flight, which is a lot more uncommon than it should be. Recently, Air France has committed to providing Starlink Wi-Fi for free on all their aircraft to all passengers, which will soon be replacing this system, but I have no idea how long the rollout is supposed to take, or if it has hit Air France's 777s yet. And with that, it's time to get some rest. Or it's supposed to be. Now we get to the main issue I have with this flight, the temperature. While temperature is a bit subjective and can vary from flight to flight, this was just ridiculous. The crew kept this plane hot throughout the whole flight. To make matters worse is the lack of overhead air vents. While it may be surprising to some, air vents aren't actually a given when flying on non-US airlines. This is something that actually does bother me a bit though, since they can at least provide some relief when exactly this occurs. Now, I know some of you might think I'm just trying to look for problems, or am being a bit dramatic, and I know the cabin temperature isn't really something I can communicate through a camera, but I have been on plenty of flights, before and after this flight, including a good variety of European airlines, and this is bad. The only other long haul I could compare this to was actually my recent KLM flight. Its main problem was a really high cabin temperature. This is a hill I am absolutely willing to die on. If the aircraft's temperature is cold, that's not too big of a deal because you can bundle up with a blanket the airline provided, or if you have it, extra layers or a jacket. But if you're hot, what are you supposed to do? Take your shirt off in a plane? Leave? Well, since I'm still awake, I can at least stare out the window and spot some cities as we pass by, like Dayton, Ohio, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and even a distant New York. And after a few hours of watching movies, with just 4 hours left in the flight to go, I finally got a little, very uncomfortable sleep. Good morning. Luckily, I was woken up by the lights coming on about an hour and a half before arrival, so I won't miss breakfast. This time, the meal comes with 2 drinks, some strawberry milk, which was actually really good, and a cup of orange juice. To eat, you get another bread roll, this time with some strawberry jam or butter to use as a spread, a bowl of mixed fruits, and finally, of course, a croissant, which was somehow not fully baked, instead just deflated and doughy. I'm sorry to keep hammering the stereotype, but of any airline in the world to hand me a bad croissant, Air France? Come on. Once again, this breakfast is just a little disappointing. It's just a collection of prepackaged things that could have come straight from a grocery store. While the bread roll and mixed fruits were fine, I really just expect more from the flag carrier of the world's culinary hub. And with that, it's about time to land. And now that we can actually see, I'll leave you to enjoy the highlight of this flight for me, the very pretty landing, and meet you back on the ground.
Vérification de la porte robotique.
And there we go, my first long haul review. So I know I sounded rather negative, especially after the first meal, and well yes, the meals were a disappointment, and the cabin temperature was ridiculous. I do still want to highlight the positives. While it certainly can't compare to these, the seat itself was not bad. It is still an economy seat, so it wasn't necessarily comfortable, but even after 11 hours, it left me with no problems. I certainly know it can get worse. The IFE also got the job done and kept me entertained once I gave up on sleep. The Wi-Fi, while not being high speed, was still good enough for some YouTube and worked throughout the flight. I do also want to end by again pointing out, judging Air France by the food on a flight departing a US city could be a bit unfair, so maybe I'll come back to give them a second chance departing Paris in future. Another point worth mentioning, I'll be continuing aboard one of Air France's A220s, which are shockingly good, with comfortable seats, device holders, and even a meal. That's just a regional flight though, and I'm not sure it's exactly worth a review, so I'll be leaving you here. Wish me luck trying to navigate Paris-Charles de Gaulle. This video was a big milestone for me, so despite the rough spots, like the takeoff, or me for some reason not getting up to show the lavatory, I hope it was still enjoyable. If you did enjoy the video, I have plenty others already up on the channel you can check out, as well as many more on the way, so please make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss that, and I hope to see you next time.